The message was only 3 words long, but it had the power to destroy my life. It was past midnight, the kind of quiet hour when the world feels empty and your thoughts grow louder than they should. I stared at my phone through blurry eyes, the dim light of the screen reflecting my exhausted face. My small apartment was silent except for the ticking clock on the wall and the faint hum of the refrigerator in the corner. My heart felt heavy, weighed down by regrets I didn't know how to fix. Without thinking clearly, I typed a message to the one person I should never have messaged in that state. My boss. 3 careless words, sent while alcohol blurred my judgment and loneliness clouded my mind. I miss you. The moment I pressed send, my stomach dropped. The reality of what I had just done hit me like a wave of cold water. I stared at the screen, hoping somehow the message would disappear, as if it had never existed. But it didn't. And there was no way to take it back. Before the story continues, take a moment to support the channel. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and stories that touch the heart, please like the video, share it with someone who needs inspiration, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps keep stories like this alive. I placed the phone on the table and ran my hands over my face, feeling a deep sense of embarrassment creeping through my chest. The alcohol buzz was fading quickly, replaced by a wave of anxiety. She wasn't just my boss. She was the person who had given me a chance when nobody else would. Her name was Claire. 2 years earlier, I had been at the lowest point of my life. I had lost my previous job after the company shut down unexpectedly. Bills were piling up, my savings were almost gone, and every interview I went to ended the same way, with polite smiles and empty promises. Claire was the only one who saw something in me. She had hired me during a short interview, barely asking questions about my past mistakes. Instead, she had simply looked at me with calm eyes and said that sometimes people only needed one opportunity to prove themselves. And I had worked harder than I ever had before. But somewhere along the way, something complicated had begun growing inside me. It wasn't something I planned. It wasn't something I wanted. It was admiration at first. Then respect. And slowly, quietly, something deeper. But I had never acted on it. I kept everything professional, buried my feelings beneath long work hours and quiet discipline. I convinced myself it was just gratitude, nothing more. Until that night. Until 3 stupid words escaped my guard. The phone remained silent on the table. No reply. No notification. I told myself that maybe she was asleep. Maybe she wouldn't even see the message until morning. But the thought of walking into the office the next day with that message sitting in her phone made my chest tighten. I imagined her disappointment. Her confusion. Maybe even anger. The idea that I might lose the job that had saved my life made my hands shake slightly. I stood up and walked to the window, staring out at the empty street below. The night felt colder than usual. Streetlights cast long shadows across the pavement, and the wind carried the faint sound of distant traffic. My life had been slowly improving over the past 2 years. I had paid off most of my debts. I had started believing that maybe I could rebuild something stable again. But one careless moment could destroy all of it. I turned back toward the table and picked up my phone again. Still nothing. I typed another message, trying to fix the situation, but the words didn't feel right. Everything sounded awkward and desperate. So I deleted it. Minutes passed. Then more minutes. The clock on the wall read 1:07 a.m. I sighed and leaned back against the couch, staring at the ceiling, trying to calm the storm inside my mind. That was when I heard it. A knock. At first, I thought I imagined it. My apartment building was old, and sounds from other floors often echoed through the walls. But then it came again. 3 slow knocks. My heart started beating faster. Nobody ever visited me this late. I walked toward the door slowly, my thoughts racing. Maybe it was a neighbor. Maybe it was someone at the wrong apartment. But something in my chest already knew the truth. When I opened the door, my breath caught in my throat. Claire was standing there. She looked exactly the same as she did in the office, calm, composed, confident. Her blonde hair rested gently on her shoulders, and her eyes held a seriousness I had never seen before. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The hallway light behind her cast a soft glow around her figure, and the silence between us felt heavy. My mind searched desperately for words, but none came. I felt exposed, embarrassed, and incredibly small all at once. Of all the possible outcomes I imagined, this was the one I never expected. She didn't look angry. She didn't look amused. She looked concerned. Claire stepped inside slowly, glancing around the small apartment. The place wasn't messy, but it was simple. A couch, a small table, a bookshelf, and a few framed photos from a life that felt like it belonged to another version of me. Her eyes returned to me. For the first time since I had known her, she looked not like a boss, but like someone trying to understand a deeper story. The silence stretched for several seconds. Then she finally spoke in a calm, quiet tone that carried both curiosity and seriousness. She told me that when she received my message, she knew something wasn't right. In the 2 years we had worked together, I had never crossed a professional boundary. I had always been respectful, focused, and reliable. So when she saw those 3 words, she didn't see disrespect. She saw someone hurting. That realization made my chest tighten. I hadn't realized how much pain I had been hiding, even from myself. For months, I had been carrying the pressure of rebuilding my life alone. The fear of failing again. The loneliness of starting over with no family nearby and very few friends left. Work had become my safe place. And Claire had unknowingly become the symbol of the second chance that saved me. But feelings are rarely simple. Sometimes admiration slowly transforms into something deeper before we even notice. Standing there in my small living room, I felt ashamed for letting those emotions slip out in such a reckless way. Claire listened patiently as I explained everything, the struggles after losing my old job, the night spent worrying about money, the quiet gratitude I felt toward her for believing in me. She didn't interrupt. She didn't judge. She simply listened. When I finished, the room felt quieter than before. Claire took a slow breath and looked at me with a gentleness that caught me off guard. She said that life had taught her something important over the years. People make mistakes when they're hurting. But mistakes don't define who they are. What matters is what they do afterward. Those words stayed with me longer than anything else that night. Instead of anger or disappointment, she offered understanding. Instead of punishment, she offered perspective. She reminded me that rebuilding a life takes time, and that emotional confusion is often part of that process. But she also reminded me that boundaries matter, especially in professional relationships. Her honesty didn't feel harsh. It felt grounding. For the first time that night, the tightness in my chest began to loosen. We talked for nearly an hour. Not about work, not about the message, but about life. Claire shared parts of her own story, how she had struggled earlier in her career, how she had faced failures and difficult decisions before reaching the position she held today. Hearing that made her feel more human than ever before. Eventually, the conversation slowed. The tension that had once filled the room had softened into something calmer. Before leaving, Claire said something that stayed with me long after she walked out the door. She said that sometimes the hardest nights become turning points in our lives. Not because they break us, but because they reveal who we really are. When the door closed behind her, the apartment felt quiet again. But it was a different kind of quiet. Not the heavy loneliness from earlier that night. A thoughtful quiet. A reflective quiet. I sat down on the couch and stared at the phone in my hand. 3 careless words had nearly caused a disaster. Yet somehow, they had also opened a door to something important. Understanding. Growth. Perspective. Over the following weeks, I worked harder than ever before, not just at my job, but on myself. I started rebuilding friendships. I began focusing on my health and my future. Most importantly, I learned to face my emotions instead of burying them. Claire and I continued working together professionally, with clear boundaries and mutual respect. And strangely enough, our professional trust grew even stronger. That night had not ruined everything. It had taught me something invaluable. Sometimes, when life feels like it's falling apart, what we actually need is a moment that forces us to grow. If this story touched your heart in any way, take a moment right now to like the video, share it with someone who might need hope today, and subscribe to the channel for more emotional stories like this. And before the story ends, I'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below and tell me, do you believe everyone deserves a second chance? Because sometimes, one mistake, one message, one unexpected knock on the door can quietly change the direction of someone's entire life.